Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Behind the Book Live. Today, you're going to get inspired. So before I introduce this guy, I'm going to give you a little bit of history of Christopher over here. He's the founder and CEO of Blue Chip Solutions, father, husband, friend, motivational, inspirational speaker. He's certified in so many different other things. And then the book. All right, so here it comes right now. He's going to bring you What's Good About Today, an inspiring book that outlines experience that impacted his life most, his son, Christian's profound response to a fatal diagnosis through personal accounts, journal entries, and a curated collection of testimonials about his remarkable son. Christopher takes readers beyond the pages and reaches their hearts. Behind the Book Live, here he is, the one, the only Chris. What's up, buddy?
What's up, Shark? How you doing, buddy?
We're a little deep dive there to get us into it, man. Yeah. But I tell you what,
and we're live, which is crazy. Like what?
We're live right here, man. And the book is live too. I mean, it just came out how long ago, Chris?
Well, actually, it's for pre-order right now for global distribution. It actually comes out in 2 days. So it's kind of good timing. It comes out on Thursday. There's all kinds of events I have tomorrow to go to. So yeah, it's kind of a whirlwind of things. So, but yeah, I'm excited for it to be out there for people.
Congratulations. And this book is all about the journey of your son. I mean, that actually what he went through for these amazing 23 years. And just real quick off the bat. I mean, I gave you a little just of who you are, but give everybody like a 2-minute tour of who Chris is.
Well, you said a lot of it in the intro, right? I think first and foremost, I always say I'm a father, husband, and friend, and I focus really on those things. And the heart of it is just love. It's amazing how through the course of my journey as an entrepreneur, much of my decision-making prior to pre-cancer is sort of two sides to myself, which is pre-cancer and after cancer. But, most of the time I was using my head. It's always everything from the neck up. And I've learned to really focus on everything south of my neck, my heart, right? And lead with my heart. And then you certainly got to do things with your head, right? Financially, you got to work businesses, you got to do a lot of things. But first and foremost, I take every approach using my heart. I think most people should try to do that. From myself, I'm a family man. I'm a business owner, entrepreneur. I've worked in IT for 25, 30 years. I've worked for some of the largest organizations, Hewlett Packard, EDS. Most of my career was at a company called Maztec, iGates, changed different names. And I left there and started my own company and wanted to build something on my own. And it was the greatest decision I ever made. Scariest decision I ever made at the time. But you work your way through that process and ultimately, started a family. Like I married my high school sweetheart, which I talk about, and the love that we've had since I was 15 years old, still together, of course. And I have 3 children, including Christian. And I always think of Christian in the present tense. He's here with us now. And so, the journey has been, perfect as perfect can get. And then we were hit with Christian's diagnosis. And that's what took us down a different path as earthlings on this journey.
Exactly. So in the book, real quick, I got to ask you, what made you write this book? Because there's a lot of deep thought in this book, Chris, when people read it. So what made you decide I want to get this out there for people to see and hear?
I'd say about 1.5 years ago, I think, that there was a lot of healing going on. Christian passed away three years ago. So it's, you got to go through a process of grieving. Like a lot of people, they got to go through this process. And as a family, we're mending and just trying to get ourselves going. About 1.5 years ago, I felt that nudge on my shoulder. It was Christian for sure. And it was, Christian was extremely humble, but I knew that one of the things I needed to do was it's part of, driving myself to be healed, right? Is to be able to put this stuff out there because I feel like it can help others. And at the end of the day, that's what Christian was always about. He was about helping others. And so if I could take something that he's inspired, this is a book that Christian inspired. I'm simply putting it down and explaining it. And it's a love story. And I wanted to be able to share it with so many. And that's what drove me to do this. It was Christian telling me, hey, we need to help people. We need to help those who are in pain, those who are suffering, and be able to show them that there is joy, beauty in every single day. And that's, of course, where the title comes from. It's not, I didn't make those words up. That's Christian's words. That was the Christian words he would say to his mother and father every day, when we were down and we were depressed and we were sad. This is the kid who was given the terminal diagnosis. He never complained one time from the day he got his diagnosis to the day he passed away. He said, "What's good about today?" And it was his daily reminder. He would point it out. What's good about today? It could be the sunshine. It could be going on walks. It's laughter. He was the one who pointed that out. And so that resonated with us. And we just, want to keep that spirit going in terms of using that language. What's good about today, in the book.
And you're so true. I always say to everybody, three little birds, like the Bob Marley theory. That's me. Get up every morning, see the sun and three little birds. Life is so precious all the time. But I got to tell you, let's jump into chapters here, Chris, because there's so many good chapters. You made it very compact and it's very easy to read. I mean, the Radiant Spirit, and then the last vacation. Let's talk about that. I mean, you guys went to the Grand Canyon, all this good stuff. So from my understanding, Christian, his spirit was like high all the time. Like he just embraced everything.
He did. He was, Christian was the center of our family, right? You think maybe it's a mom or dad. Christian was the center of the family for all of us, for his siblings too. He resonated on, of course, positivity and joyousness. He was the adventurous guy too. So if we were on these vacations and we would be driving somewhere, he's like, "Why don't we go down this road? There's stuff to do down here." And be like, "Christian, I don't think we should go down." Like, "No, there's going to be stuff to do." He loved to take you off the beaten path. He was the guy who understood things and had that foresight into what was the joy that was about to develop. And so, we went on that vacation, beautiful vacation, spent Christmas in the Grand Canyon. I talk about that. That's our last vacation together. That's really the last time Christian told me when he said he felt really great. That was when he felt perfect. I'm sure he had cancer at that point because this is a slow cancer that built up probably for a year that it's undetected. You just don't see it until it's too late. And so, some months afterwards is when he started to feel the pains in his back. And of course we had him treated, but he's a healthy kid and we didn't see that. And the doctors didn't see it. And it's typical in this type of cancer that's only seen in stage 4, which is what Christian was. But that was an unbelievable vacation that we spent as a family. And all our vacations are fantastic. They're full of adventure. So it was a good time.
That is awesome there. So when did you really so just let's break it down a little bit here. This might be a little sentimental, but so Christian's healthy, everything's going well. When did you realize something was going wrong?
Well, I mean, you reflect back on this, right? And and trust me, we've gone through it multiple times. I'd say a few months when he came back, he was diagnosed August 26th of 2020. And he had just graduated from college. He was coming home, ready to start his career. He had some back pain. We went on another vacation. It was a different kind of vacation, kind of a short thing with each other. He had gotten some back pain and we went and had it treated he had physical therapy. The doctors assured us he was a young, healthy kid. There's no problems. But when his pain got worse and worse. And so in the middle of the night, Christian came to us. I think it was like 3:00 in the morning and just said, "This is unbearable." And I remember, let's get him to the hospital immediately. And that's when that process of taking the blood test and, it takes a couple days. And then they said, "Let's go get some scans," because his blood work was elevated and the blood scans showed something. They didn't tell us. They said, "You need to go to the Hillman Cancer Institute." And of course you're going bonkers on this. They said, "Oh, it's just a scar it could be just a scar on his liver." And we thought, "Oh, as a dad, I just do all kinds of research." I'm like, "Oh, it's no big deal, Christian. You're going to be fine. Let's get there. Let's get this taken care of, get back to our regular life." And this was during COVID. So it was only one parent. I took him. I assured his mom that everything's going to be fine. We'll be back. And we walked in and there were 5 lab coats with masks on us during COVID just started. And I could just read their eyes. And I knew from that moment that we were in trouble. Christian was in trouble. And they said, "Christian, you have cancer and you've got a grapefruit sized tumor on your liver. And you're advanced at this point." And I'll never forget it because, I like to forget it, but it's still with me that I started to fade, that moment where you start to go dark, that I knew everything had changed for this boy. and my family and everything. And he showed incredible superpower. He just looked at me with the most kind eyes, said, Dad, put his hand on my shoulder, and he said, Dad, don't worry about it. It's all going to be fine. He lightened up the mood in the room with the doctors to try to give them joy. He's that kind of
Yeah.
guy. He didn't want anyone to feel upset that they had done their job right. And he just said to them, I remember saying, how much time do I have left? He was just,
Mm.
and they said, well, we don't want to answer that question, but Christian knew. And
Yep.
that started the journey from there. That's the feeling we had then. So it was tough because then I had to go back and tell his mother, sit down with him and
Yeah.
go through the process. And you're in this whirlwind of trying to save his life then, right? You got to get him on chemo and what chemos. And, we even took him to fertility doctors to so he could have babies in the future. It was this insane time because we were hopeful though.
Uh-huh.
We had hopeful for the future for him.
Wow. And then, so this all goes down, and then what is going through, I got to ask you, through your mind right then, because you don't know how much time, so you want to try to get everything in. Vacations, I mean, some people say Disney World, whatever you can, because you don't know what the next steps are, next day is going to entail.
Yeah, for us, it was less. We didn't think about vacation. All I could think about at that moment was how do we save his life, right? I knew he had gotten something called cholangiocarcinoma. It's a less than 1% chance he's going to live past 6 months. So it was a death sentence that he was given. And I knew that. I had done my research and I knew he was in trouble. So at that point, it was just, look, I'm a doer, like a lot of dads, right? Moms are the nurturers, dads are doers, and I was a guy who's entrenched in the medical space, finding the best doctors. What do we have to figure out? What phase trials are coming up? Anything we could do, because immediately you had to get them on chemotherapy, and very harsh chemotherapies, and some very different kinds of chemotherapies for this that are potent. And we went down that road initially just to get him stationary, that there wasn't that the cancer wasn't going to continue to spread. At this point, we were stage 4, and we were just trying to hold off whatever we could and get him in front of the best doctors and figure out how we solve this problem. So there was none of this, hey, we got to go somewhere. We couldn't go anywhere. His time was fleeting. I knew. I never told his mom this, and she knows this now, of course. But I kept that, she would ask me, what's going to happen here? I said, he's going to be okay. We're going to fight this and we're going to win, and I like to win. I really believed we could. He was going to be that less than 1% chance, but he was going to be the guy because he was too strong. He was too good, to everything. So, we that's what our focus was. Only 24/7. That's all we did. We had myself, my wife, an advisory crew of a family that all we did was work 24/7, figure this out and solve the problem for him. And he never got involved. Christian put his entire trust in us as a family. He did whatever we said was the way to go. He said, it's up to you guys, however way you want to do this. And I'm good. And he took it for the way it was, I think he already knew. So,
and you know what, to be that young, it's not like, he's still a young adult, to take that all on. I mean, if you're a little bit older, maybe you can handle that, but at a young age like that, to take that on, that's so courageous of him,
Yeah, I'm not sure even an old person can handle it. I think it's one of these. I'm not sure I could have handled it, to be completely honest. I don't think I could. The way he handled everything with such grace, calmness, and looked at every single day with beauty. It was magical in a sense. He had a way of making all of us feel good when he's going through the worst thing possible. And it was a remarkable thing to witness, for sure. He was definitely remarkable.
And one chapter I want to talk about is chapter 4, the role model chapter, So this is something that, you learn from the lessons. Describe this chapter and how you wrote this. I mean, I don't know if your wife was involved or whatever for all this, but this was a chapter that really stuck in a lot of people's minds, I think, when they read this, the role model part.
Yeah, I mean, it's a role model for all. Christian was a role model for all. And that's, in a sense, the book, A Purpose-Driven Life. I think of the book as a roadmap to lead a purposely driven life. Christian led this life that, and my wife was involved. It wasn't done in a vacuum. I had to garner different views and go around and talk to people and get different versions, and sometimes things would come out of nowhere. I would, when I say role model for all, stories would sort of develop after Christian had passed. There are things that I learned about Christian that I just didn't know about uh, as a son. I knew he was fantastic. I knew he was loving. I knew he did so many good things for so many people. But afterwards, so many came to me and said, "I met your son for 5 minutes." An example I think I talk about in the book, one of many. Someone who met him for 5 minutes up at school was a young woman who was at a lunch table at the school. She was alone. She was in a bad place. Christian had this incredible intuition as to other people's pain. It is a remarkable thing. He knew if you were down, he did it his whole life with all of us. If we were not in the right mode, he could just sense that. And so he sensed it with this young woman. He went over to them to say, introduce himself, to incorporate her into his family, into his friends group, to let her know that she's loved and everything's okay. She just said, I couldn't believe that someone like this, who didn't know me from Adam, I'm an outcast. I was away from my family. Things were not going well for me. And so he was able to do that. The other example is somebody I cannot name, but someone at a school district who high level came to me and told me how Christian had saved 2 lives. He had identified 2 people who were going through struggles, and he went to them to explain who they were and that they needed help. That's the thing about Christian. So he demonstrated all these things, all the works, and I didn't even know about that, right? Because the school wouldn't tell me that until later on, that he had saved these lives, and they wrote the letter, and I was just blown away that this actually transpired. He never mentioned it to us. And he did it probably because he never wanted to hurt or burden us as a family. He never wanted to put any burdens on his parents.
Yeah.
He wouldn't put burdens on anyone. He just wanted to do the right thing, and he didn't need accolades for it, which is kind of stunning when you think about it, because this is a kid who was on stage all the time. He was an actor. He was the lead in every musical and play at a big high school. He's the prom king. I mean, there's so many things, but he was very humbled, and he always wanted to do the right thing. And so I talk a lot about that in that section of the role model, because there's so many areas where he demonstrated that he was a role model for many.
And you know what I love about it? Like, he didn't change after he was diagnosed. It was like he continued on, like life just goes on. It wasn't like everybody else was thinking back, oh my God, how can we save you? And he's like, I'm just chugging along. And
Yeah,
I don't know how you can do that. That's what I'm saying. Your son is amazing. Like, this is something like, I mean, I would be thinking about this all the time. I probably had moods and different things. How do you stay upbeat and love life when you don't know what's going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. This is a kid who didn't stop anything. Like I said, he never said, woe is me, never said, why me? He literally continued to thrive. He made music. He got a job. I mean, I'm telling you, when he got diagnosed with terminal cancer, he sat on the phone. I said, Christian, you don't have to do this. He says, no, what? People depend on me. They offered me a job. He worked for ADP. They offered him a job, and he wanted to accept that. And I just said, Christian, do you really want to do that? He felt an obligation, and he also wanted to show his siblings that he could move forward. It was always this way of showing people, like, hey, nothing's going to keep me down. I'm going to keep moving forward. So he has a girlfriend. He is still, I consider her a girlfriend. She was just here a week ago. She flew in. She's a lawyer. And Rachel, I talk a lot about Rachel. And she's an attorney, and she just loves Christian, and she's still part of our life. And I assured Christian when he was towards the end of his life that she would always be a part of our life, and he thought that was just fantastic. Yeah, he just, he looked at it as just a part of the journey. Like, death was just part of a journey. It was just part of life, and he was okay with it. Totally okay with it.
Man,
he understood it fully. I think he understood it many, many years ago, that he was, I'm convinced he knew this was his destiny anyway, because he lived a life probably of 5 people, a lifetime. He did so many things.
Oh yeah. And the impact he made even after, everything else happened. It's amazing. Now on chapter 5, I got to talk about this because it's a father's view. So this is, okay. So see Christian doing this. Then there's a view of you, the father's view. take us in a little bit of this chapter here, because this is you like sitting back, viewing all this and saying, oh my.
Sure. Well, that's a hard one. Yeah, as a father, your job is to, at least in my, is take care of the family, keep the family together. I mean, statistically, families fall apart after these things. Even cancer diagnosis and that where someone survives, those families don't stay together. And there's so many statistics on families that just can't stay together. And the reason for that is because the grieving is different for every single person. It's different for my wife. It's different for myself. It's different for my kids, his aunts. And so, as a father, I really wanted to, it was so important to keep this family together. It's everything to me. There is nothing else. And so as a father, I talk about the experiences that I went through as a dad. And of course, that's one of them, trying to keep the family together. I was not in a good place, for a year and a half after Christian had passed. I was not there, whether it was, I'm not a heavy drinker, but at certain moments, whether it was a specific date, I would drink too much. If I was, I just, and I've learned, I do this thing called I karate chop my feelings. I literally do this, and I always laugh because if I'm driving or something, I'm karate chopping my feelings if a song comes on. But people who are driving next and probably think I'm insane. But I karate chop myself, and I say, look, you're not going to go there. Christian won't let me go there. Take me back to the most difficult moments, the things that I saw and witnessed were very heart-wrenching, right? But they're beautiful at the same time. That's the thing about Christian. Christian lived this incredibly beautiful life, but he died beautifully, right? And I'm blessed. I got to spend time with Christian to talk about really deep things. There's a lot of families who grieve, a lot of mothers and fathers and brothers and sisters who lose their family members to drugs and alcohol and suicide, and they never get that chance. They don't get a chance to say goodbye. They don't get any of those things. And I feel for them. I think that's one of the worst thing. And I know mine's bad too, because I witnessed things, but as a father, it was just really important for me to put that all down on pen and paper, how I truly felt. Because at the end of the day, when you write a book, you got to be authentic. You got to put how you feel. And it's not as if when I went through this, there weren't discussions where like, do you really want to talk about it? I'm like, I have to, if I'm not doing it, I'm not authentic. It's not authentic. And I want to be as authentic as I can to help people. At the end of the day, it's not about me. I am simply a guy in the background telling a story. That's all I'm doing. And Christian's the star. Christian is the star. And if you read the book, I really believe people can get so much out of this for their own lives that they can take lessons. That's why every chapter, at the end of every chapter, there are takeaways. There are things that you can take away with your life. And I think that's really important when you go about your daily thing. And Christian had this amazing thing where he didn't have to-do list. He had to love list. And so I really focus on, I'm not a guy who checks off like, I got to do this today. I got to do this today. I got to do this today. I go, how do I love more today? Here's my checklist of how I love. How do I go and go to do more with the foundation, Christian's foundation? How do I help people who are in need? How do I reach out to those who are in need? And so if you want to call it, that's my to love list. And that's Christian. That's all Christian. It's not me coming up with something. That Christian had love list. And so I'm following his path, and following that path is helping me create a purposely driven life.
And this is amazing. And then I got to talk about the 8,508 days, a mother's impression. I mean, this is something you probably sat with your wife and sat down on this. Give a little bit of just a little snip of chapter 6. What went on with that?
Yeah, that's a tough one, right? Because the mother's relationship with her firstborn is incredibly tight. It is with all the children. But Christian had such a special relationship with his mother, and he was so loving to her. Even from when he was a little boy, he had this incredible way of putting everyone first. I talk about this one, even I think in the beginning part of the chapter, is how Christian, even as a young Christian, we call him, at the bus stop, every kid's clamoring to get on the bus first day of school. Christian was not that kid. Christian would hang back and let everyone get the best seat on the bus. He would even let those who were disadvantaged to get on the bus, make sure they got settled in and had a good seat. Then he would go on and find a seat wherever he needed to be, because his thought was, hey, I want to make sure everyone else is taken care of. this, I think the 8,508 days, it tells you how short life is, right? And that it's not, there's not, when you put it down in the amount of days, it doesn't seem like a lot of days that someone lived, and nor any of us that we live. And that life is really a journey, and it's filled, and that chapter is really about a journey filled with love. It's filled with compassion, kindness, enthusiasm. And you should strive every day to live intentionally with purpose. And so live with gratitude. And I know gratitude's a platitude we hear everywhere.
Yeah.
It's not something I talk a ton about gratitude, because gratitude is always out there, but it's really living with purpose. And and in the end, Christian always says, don't take life so seriously. And that's always important, that we don't take life too seriously. And I try not to do that. But yeah, that chapter is deep, and obviously his mother speaking from her heart as a mother. And I'm sure mothers who can listen to this know their connection to their children. It's very deep, and it's still deep today. It's still difficult. So it's nothing that just washes away from us at all.
No, it'll be there forever. And then in the next couple of chapters, we'll talk a little bit between hope and acceptance. So now the acceptance part comes in. Everything builds up to this. If you can explain to anybody out there that's grieving, how do you guys accept this and move on? You never move on, but how do I state this the right way? You could explain it better than I can, because I've only had grandparents pass away. I've never had anybody internal yet. So
yeah,
please, just how does people accept this?
Well, I don't. So yeah, everybody deals. It's a universal thing that we all have in life, right? It's grief, one form or the other, right? There's grief hits us in different ways. Certainly, I think losing a child is one of the worst possible things you can go through. The natural order of losing your grandparents, losing your parents, it's all natural order. I've lost my parents and many others. Everybody does. But when you lose your child who's ready to take on the world, especially a young adult, 22, just graduated from college, it's just your mind goes, where is he going? Where was he going to be? Right? Where would Christian be right now? What would he be doing? And these are the things that go through the mind of parents. And how do you get through it? Well, there are two things that I use every day. One is I remain humble. Number one, being humble before God. Humble before God to know that, hey, I'm really here at your mercy. And the second thing, very important, that's helped me, and I think can help people, is to realize you're not in control. This is a world, we talked about this off air a little bit, which is you don't know when your time is up. You don't know when it could be, right? I know one thing, I'm guaranteed, at least right now with you, we're together. When we get off of this, there's no guarantees on what's going to happen today. So I've learned to sort of flush that out and realize that I'm not in control of things. God is ultimately in control of all these things. And I'm just going to do the best I can in the days, every single day. I don't look too far ahead either. That's the other thing. Maybe this is something to help me too. I try not to look in the past too much, and I really do not look too much to the future. And I say that because even us, we were going to talk. I know we planned this out. I only look at my schedule for early in the morning, what I'm going to do today. I put things on the calendar, but then I don't really look at it. And I focus on what can I do today, and then tomorrow's going to come, because it's not guaranteed. But I know tomorrow I'll get up, I'm going to look at things. I've got, my love list. I've got my prayers. I got things I need to do properly and to fill the world with kindness. But I think I try not to look too far ahead, if that makes sense to people out there. I think when you look too far ahead, you lose sight of what's really in front of you. And that's important. You got to pay attention to things that are in front of you, because you will lose them. Again, another thing that we talk a lot about is staying in the present, right?
Yes.
You got to stay in the present. And when you lose that, I've gained a lot of that back. When I was younger, I was all about figuring out how to get the best job, more money, best car, bigger house, all those things. But they mean nothing.
Exactly.
They really mean nothing. They you can't take them with you. They may feel good. They may make you feel good briefly, but in the end, that's not what's going to bring you lasting joy and lasting peace. So that's important, that you stay in the present. And I also talk a lot about pausing and reflecting on pauses, which are important as well.
You know what I love what you said there, Chris? Live for today, not tomorrow. And I think a lot of people get caught up in this world we're in now. It's so hyperactive where they're always worried about tomorrow, the next day, and they're not living fulfillment for that day, you know?
Yeah, it's true. I someone sent me a really interesting cartoon. It was this guy who's running and he's catching cash as he's running, and
Yeah.
then he keeps running, keeps catching cash, he's catching cash, and all of a sudden there's a cliff, right? And he realized he's been collecting all this cash for all this time, but he's done. He's going over the cliff, right? There's nothing you can do about it catching all that cash. So it's not about cash. Is just a symbolism of so many different things that we're always trying to catch or to get and things. And it's okay. I get it. I'm not here to say that I don't have, nice things here and there, but it's not my focal point. I try to put it all back a different way. And I know that it makes me realize I'm trying to lead the right life because that's what we're here for. I truly believe that.
Dude, I love it, man. You're just reading everything that I believe in. And then the last chapter we'll talk about before we wrap it up is
Mhm.
a lasting impact. I mean, the impact that we're talking about right now with the book and everything else. I mean, there's so much more that can make an impact because I got to say, Chris, us on the show today, if we can change one person's life or even a half a person's life, that's what we did. That's what we're out for. You know what I mean? It's not volume. You want to change everybody's life, but there's somebody right now that might be going through the same thing that you're talking about,
Yeah, you're right. You said it exactly. I say that all the time, right? If it's one person, when I go and speak, if the one person shows up, then that's fine. I'll talk to that person. It's fine with me. It's not about the crowds. It's about the individuals. It's about the impact that you can make even on one person. So all of my discussions, everything I talk about is about one. I focus on one person. And if I can make that change, then great. Yeah. The lasting impact. Yeah. The book is part of that process. It's part of getting out there to speak to more people. We do have a legacy through the Pittsburgh Foundation. I live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It's the Christian Cochran Legacy Fund through the Pittsburgh Foundation. I don't run it. I'd rather have really strong professionals doing that. We do a lot of good in the community. We do help out with charter schools in Pittsburgh, after school programs,
Nice.
scholarships, things like that. Those were near and dear to Christian's heart. Again, not something we created it before Christian passed away. It was something he wanted us to do. Christian knew this was coming. He wanted us to focus on taking care of others. And so he had that foresight to do that. So we put that in place. Certainly we are partnered with other organizations in town. There's a group called YASU. It's Young Adult Survivors United. It works with young adults who have cancer. And so many young adults who have cancer do not have support systems. That was one of the things that Christian talked about extensively, is that he even wrote a dissertation paper getting into he literally during the time he had cancer, he got accepted to grad school. Okay. This is a kid who didn't stop believing he was going to go to college. He went out and looked for an apartment, with his friend. He was always thinking forward. He wrote a paper. It was a beautiful paper about how he was such a privileged child. He was, right? We had the best doctors. We had the best facilities. We had all the insurance care. He felt it was a crime against humanity. He wanted to spend his life, if he survived, he said, he wanted to spend the rest of his life helping those in countries that didn't have that support, who didn't have someone by their side when they were suffering. He could be there for them. And it's just extraordinary to think. I wish he'd gotten that chance to do it, because I think it would have helped a lot of people. So I think doing the things we're doing as far as the lasting impression, there has to be purpose to this. So it's going out to deliver these things, get the book in people's hands, talk about the book, talk about, if you don't buy the book, don't worry, don't buy the book. Come talk to me. I don't really care. You don't have to buy the book. If it's just to talk to me, I'm always eager to talk to people, to help them any way I can through the challenges I had, my family had. And if it brings you peace and some level of joy, pieces of joy, then that's what I want to do.
There's a shout out for Gino. You know Gino real well, don't you?
I do know Gino. Gino's a good man. Hi, Gino. He's a great man. He's a great man. Down south.
But
I love him.
but that, you know what, the impact you're making, Chris, you and your family, man, I just can't say anymore, man. I love you guys seriously to death. This
I
is
love you
what
too.
we need more. We need more of this in America. Seriously, the things we're going through right now brings tears to my eyes.
Yeah.
Joy. It's joy. Like, Christian, we love you too, brother, man. I'm up there,
Yeah.
man. Never met you, man, but dude, we're talking about you on my show. Dude, you're part of the Shark family forever, man. So
Yeah. He's with us here, Shark. I can feel him. So I know that. I know that for a fact. He's here.
oh, but you know what the amazing things, where can somebody find the book? I know you said it's on Amazon, Kindle. Where can they find this at?
Yeah, it's I think I mentioned global distribution. So it is on Amazon. It's also at Barnes and Noble, online. Maybe in stores. I just don't know that yet. I think until it hits the books, or hits the market on the 22nd, which is Thursday. But it's certainly available for pre-order. It's also, you can download it as an ebook, a Kindle, right? And but I think it's in other distributions as well. So we're seeing I get, I work through a distributor, and so they'll send me notes and say how things are going, and they said it's just going. It's amazing. They said it's amazing the amount of orders they're getting in terms of people reading it, and some people have advanced copies because there's people that have that, but the impact it's having out there is great.
Man, I can't say anymore. I love it. I love it so much,
Yeah,
man.
and I love you too. Thanks for saying you love me. I love you too.
Dude, that's
The thing
what
is,
it's about.
we don't say we love each other that much, and I think it's really important. Now, it's an overuse. Sometimes we say, "Oh, I love you," way a little too much, but if you really mean it in your heart, it's important. And I always say I love you. I never forget to say I love you.
And we will definitely connect in person sometime down the road. Seriously, man, because I'm right
Absolutely.
down the road from you, not that far.
Yeah.
But you know what? Definitely at the end of the day, I'll put the links in once you get them, so people can order that stuff. If you guys get a chance, seriously, check this book out. This is, in this 36 minutes, you've seen the Shark. The energy was just like, I was all glued into Chris in this story because it's all about that. You never see the Shark on this side sometimes cry for joy, but this is cry for joy and loving everybody else. Before we get out of here, Chris, any final thoughts you want to give any of the audience out there, man? It's your floor.
Oh, thanks. Just to tell them that there is hope, there is joy in every single day. That's the point. I think if you can take this message to yourself, just say it to yourself, what's good about today, right? You question it, whether it's at the beginning of the day or at the end of the day. And guess what? You're going to have bad days. You're going to have days where it just feels crummy, and there's nothing good about that day. But I assure you, if you sit down and you think about it, there is absolutely something good about your day, and take advantage of that. Take advantage of the days with your family, whether it's through walks and jokes and laughter, and just hone in on those moments because they go and you want to capture them. And that's what fills up your body with joy. And the more you can fill yourself with those joys, man, you're just going to be a better person for it. So, and I'm always available, chriscochranspeaks.com. If anybody ever wants to reach out to me, I'm more than happy to talk. Always.
Making an impact, Chris. Dude,
yes, sir.
Love it, man. Can't say anymore. If you guys get a chance, remember, subscribe to the Stephanie Shark YouTube channel because I have guests on like Chris and everybody else. We're all here to inspire. If anybody wants to be on the show, just reach out to me. I put everybody on. We're here to make everybody shine and love everybody. Hey, Chris, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. This is just one of them where it's like, wow, this hit me deep. And I just love what you're doing, the impact you're making with you and your family. Tell your family I said hi, the Shark said hi. And definitely we will catch up in person sometime. Have a big hug, have a coffee or maybe a cocktail, whatever, man. But I definitely want to meet you soon.
All right, Shark. I really appreciate it. It was awesome. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Anytime. You guys remember, please get the book here. It'll inspire you for sure. It inspired me just in the last 35 minutes. Take care, guys, and we'll see you on another episode of Behind the Book Live. Take care.